OC. Viewer discretion is advised. Incoming transmission in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, it's Courtney here from the Outcasted OC podcast, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. I'm not super thrilled to be doing this episode. We will get into it very shortly as to why. There were a lot of rumors going into Monday Night Raw about something that did take place on this week's episode. Let's not waste any time going around and dancing around it. Let's just get straight into it. So we started off by seeing Damian Priest, Sammy, Cody, and Jay all backstage arriving, and we got to see that we will be going into detail a little bit more, obviously recapping what happened on SmackDown with the Bloodline and Tama Tonga's debut last week. I really am so angry that I have to talk about this. I've been so upset since this news broke earlier today, pre-Monday Night Raw, and then obviously watching Monday Night Raw, I've just completely lost all sense of enjoyment in the product anymore. And this is because Rhea Ripley made her way out to the ring. She looked very angry, and she hopped on the mic, and she spoke to the crowd. And she said after the attack from Liv Morgan last week backstage, she has now been put on the bench for a few months, and she is being forced to vacate the Women's World Championship. And I absolutely felt my heart break during this moment. You could tell how upset Rhea was. You could tell that she didn't want to do it. You could tell that this moment was really hard for her in her career, and she said that this is one of the things that means the absolute most to her, and hence why it's so incredibly painful for her to have to, vacate the title. A lot of people were chanting, some profanity. I'm not really going to repeat here because I would have to blurt it out, and I don't really want to do that, and then I'd have to censor it, and I also don't want to do that. Giving some chants that they weren't very happy, and I completely understand why. It absolutely is just absolute BS. I'll literally just tell you that's what they said. She was getting a lot of thank you mommy chants, which was quite cool. And she was basically like, well, this is all because of Liv Morgan's stupid revenge tour. You blindsided me, you coward. If you had come to me and actually tried to fight me one-on-one, I would have respected you a little bit more. But when I come back, I'm going to come back for blood. And when I find her, you're going to have to lock me up in a Montreal prison. Liv Morgan comes out. She tries to make her presence known, and she tries to make herself intimidating with some security. She's really not. And they both kind of walk towards each other, and there's a whole bunch of security around both of them, so they don't actually get to interact. And then Rhea Ripley ends up headbutting a security guard, and that is the end of the segment. Now, I just want to bring light to something that's frustrating me a little bit, and this is really hard for me to say because I love both of these people. I'm a massive Seth Rollins girl. If you guys do not know me by now, first of all, what? And secondly, I'm a massive Seth Rollins girly. I love that man till the day that I die. I think he is one of the greatest wrestlers around in terms of promo and ring ability, just overall being able to captivate an audience. But one thing I am going to draw comparison to, and I'm not doing this because of a gender thing, I'm being 100% honest and calling WWE out on their BS. Why is it that when Seth Rollins was injured and he could not wrestle and he was not medically cleared, did you keep the WWE World Heavyweight Championship on him until he was able to continue wrestling? But the second that Rhea's injured and she's going to be out for a few months, you go, oh, no, we have to vacate it. We have to vacate her. It just doesn't, I don't understand where the logic is. I don't understand where the consistency is. It should be the same across the board for the women and the men. If someone is injured, they vacate the title. That's kind of how it works. You don't just go ahead and say, oh, well, Seth Rollins is the World Heavyweight Champion. He gets to keep the title. Oh, but Rhea Ripley is the Women's World Champion. She has to vacate. Rhea Ripley, when it comes to the women's division, is quite literally the equivalent of Seth Rollins in terms of the tier of champion that she is. And you just want to... I don't want to talk about this for too much longer because I actually am incredibly frustrated. I'm incredibly angry. I think this was a massive letdown for the Triple H era. It's not his fault. I understand that he wanted to vacate the title for Rhea so she can go and rest. But go back and look at what you just did with Seth Rollins. And I'm not saying this because I'm biased to him. I do love him. But I'm just literally saying if you're going to keep Seth Rollins as the champion and you're going to vacate it to someone else, there is a double standard there. If you are going to have injured people in the future, have them vacate the title no matter if they are a male or a female. It's pretty damn obvious of what you got to do. It's not that difficult to do, actually. You just need to be understanding of what people want. As soon as I heard that Rhea Ripley had to vacate the title, I instantly thought to myself, well, why didn't Seth? So I guess that's just a gripe I've got now with Triple H. I'll eventually get over it, but I'm really aggravated by this whole thing. Liv Morgan is clearly playing into the fact that she was the one who did it, and I'm not going to talk about Liv Morgan because I can't say anything about her without people taking it the wrong way. And the internet is very sensitive these days, so let's just not say anything anymore, but let's talk about something I am very excited about, the fact that Sheamus is back. So we got to see him backstage, and then we saw Rhea Ripley walk out backstage, and she runs into the Judgment Day, and she gives all her mates a hug, and Damien says that you're going to make Liv regret messing with you, and when you come back, you're going to be better and stronger than ever. Do not forget that you are Rhea bloody Ripley. Obviously, she's super happy with, like, the fact that they're trying to, like, console her, but I'm just like, I'm so defeated, just incredibly defeated by this news. Like, I can't imagine a women's division without Rhea Ripley, especially for a couple of months. I know she'll be coming back, but it's going to leave a massive hole within the division, especially with how big of a superstar she is. It's just incredibly unfortunate timing. Our first match of the night, which is Sheamus going up against Ivar, and one thing I did notice that I am so happy with is the way that Sheamus came out was very much like the Brawling Brutes entrance, and then his old theme song hit, and I was like, I have not heard this in a very long time. Thank you very much, Sheamus and Triple H, for bringing it back. I think now that he's no longer attached to the Brawling Brutes, there's absolutely no need to continue with that shoddy Deaf Rebel theme song. I just think we need to just start having individualized theme songs for wrestlers, and that is a rant for another day, but I'm a bit full of piss and vinegar today, I'm not going to lie to you. It's not been a great day, and Rhea Ripley's news has absolutely just broken me internally. So, let's talk about Sheamus and Ivar, because this was actually a very solid match. It didn't get a lot of time, but there was, two big meaty men slapping meat. What more could you ask for? So, Sheamus and Ivar were exchanging blows at the beginning of the match, and then Sheamus ends up hitting a shoulder tackle and a white noise onto Ivar. We end up seeing Sheamus hit a power bomb as well onto Ivar, and then we end up seeing the 10 beats by Sheamus as well too. Ivar hits a big boot and a nice spinning kick, followed by a splash as well, and he ends up running into a running knee from Sheamus. Sheamus ends up, exposing his kneecap and hitting him with it, and then he hits the brogue kick to win the match. So Sheamus has won his first ever match, and they've obviously made sure to let us know that he hasn't wrestled since August of last year. So he basically won his first match within 8 months. Super excited to see Sheamus back. I'm really hoping they put him into that Intercontinental Championship picture at some point, because I really need my boy to become a Grand Slam champion. Following this match, we go backstage to a few video segments. So we got to see a reminder of Sami and Gunther from WrestleMania. We got to see a video package that very much tied into it. It was the same one that we saw going into WrestleMania, obviously, with Chad and Sami preparing that Rocky style video recap segment. Then we got to see Chad Gable was backstage, and this is obviously preempting their main event match for the Intercontinental Championship later on in the evening. Following this, we head back to the ring, and Triple H is making his way out to the ring with Adam Pearce, and they are essentially, I'm just not going to sugarcoat it, unveiling some new championship titles. Now they ask Awesome Truth to come out. Triple H says that we're in a new era and we need to represent the tag scene, and it's incredibly deep. There's a lot of teams in there that we are representing the tag scene with, which he's not wrong. He unveils the new World Tag Team Championships, which is obviously what Awesome Truth are going to be called as the WWE World Tag Team Champions. Say that 5 times fast and try and get it right, because I know that I can't. We've got new belts, which is pretty cool. It literally looks like Rhea Ripley's belt, but it's got like World Tag Team and Champions. I don't know what's going on with the designs of these tag belts, but anyway. Truth is amused by the fact that not only we have new titles, but Triple H just made them magically appear like a magician. And he starts calling him a magician, and he's like, oh, I have never seen a magician perform tricks like this, blah, blah, blah. And there's like a massive riff-raff back and forth. And it was kind of amusing. Truth ended up calling Triple H Tommaso Ciampa, and Triple H left and was like, Adam Pearce, you can deal with this. Then we actually find out that there was going to be a triple threat match take place for some tag teams to find out who the contender was going to be to go up against Awesome Truth. So we go into this match. So it's DIY taking on the New Day versus the Creed brothers. Now this match was actually filled with a lot of action. I really enjoyed this match. Everyone's kind of going at each other from the beginning, and Brutus Creed got a really great showing during this match match as well too. He hit a really nice clothesline on both Johnny Gargano and Xavier Woods as well. We see DIY taking out both members of the New Day, and then the New Day end up going after DIY as well. Tommaso Ciampa and Julius Creed are just going at each other. There's some awesome sequencing coming in from that, and then we end up seeing Julius hit a really nice running knee as well. I literally wrote down bodies everywhere because there was some insane sequencing. I could not keep up with what was going on. It was just like boom, 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 boom. So much was going on. DIY end up hitting a double team, and then Tommaso Ciampa ends up hitting the Project Ciampa, and then Xavier is just on a roll. I found he's really improved in the ring as well, which I'm super excited to see. He's getting more moments to showcase his individual strengths in the ring. Julius Creed hits 3 suplexes and 3 kip-ups, so he goes suplex, kip-up, then repeat until he's done 3 of them. DIY hit the meat in the middle, is absolute carnage at the end, but DIY are now the new tag team championship contenders to go up against Awesome Truth, so I'm assuming that they'll have that happen at Backlash maybe. I could be incorrect with the timing on that, but I think it's going to be really cool when we get to see it. I'm a huge fan of DIY, and I know that Triple H as well is a massive fan of DIY, so I'm really hoping we get an awesome match coming out with the 2 teams, no pun intended. Michael Cole led us to a CM Punk and Drew McIntyre recap from last week. Obviously, CM Punk screwing Drew McIntyre out of the World Heavyweight Championship contenders match, which Jay Uso ultimately won. We then go backstage where Drew McIntyre is seen watching this segment on a monitor, and Jackie Redmond is next to him. She tries to get a few words out of him, and Drew is just like almost rocking back and forth. He's not really saying anything. He's got that super menacing smile on his face. He ends up kicking the TV, and he just looks unhinged. I'm interested to see where the storyline goes. I am really enjoying Drew McIntyre and his character work as of late. He is just so incredibly unpredictable, and you've almost got no idea what he's going to do, and I think that's why it's incredibly enticing to see what he does. We head back to the ring. We have a women's tag team match that actually did not get much time, unfortunately, but it was to further that storyline between Candice and Indy, taking on Ivy and Maxine. Now, this is obviously to test Indy to see if she's aligning with Candice. So Ivy and Indy are both starting this match with a lot of groundwork, and then Ivy hits a really nice sunset flip as well. She ends up tagging in Maxine Dupree. Maxine's doing really well within this match. She hits a really nice crossbody and a fisherman's suplex as well, but Candice gets tagged in, and she's absolutely pummeling Maxine to the floor. Maxine hits a really nice DDT. Indy ends up hitting a cheap shot on Maxine because there's a moment where she's distracted the ref, and I think Ivy tagged in, but the ref didn't see it, so Indy takes this moment to capitalize off it, hits a really cheap shot on Maxine. She's down. She ends up throwing Candice on top of Maxine to get the pinfall, so Indy and Candice won the match. As I say, this is maybe progressing Indy's heel turn. I'm not really too sure if she's going to turn to the dark side alongside Candice, but it's very interesting to see what's going on with this storyline. I'm really intrigued to see what they do from here. We had a super cool video package for Damian Priest. We got to see a little bit of footage from him in his NXT days, and obviously when he was United States champion on the main roster. Then we got to see that moment where he cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase at WrestleMania. I'm still so incredibly excited for Damian. I feel like this is only just the start of his singles run. I know that he's been like a United States champion and stuff before, and that's cool, but it hits different when you see someone that you really like obviously cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase and just become uber successful. I think it's about time. I really love Damian Priest, and I just cannot wait to see what they do with him from here. It crosses back to the Judgment Day Clubhouse where Damian is watching this segment on the TV, and Dom and JD and Finn are there as well too. Damian starts to hype up Dominic and JD, obviously because Dominic's going up against Andrade. He's like, you need to settle this problem. Obviously, because Rhea Ripley's gone, we need to keep the Judgment Day moving. We need to keep them doing it. He says, JD, I really want you just to be there for Dom to make sure he can settle his scores with Andrade. And Finn's like, hey, I kind of really want us to focus on the tag team titles. Like, can we try and get them back? Damian's like, I want you to bring the Prince back, and I want you to show Jay Uso what the Prince is all about. And then I'll go ahead and show Jay Uso at Backlash what pain is all about too. Jackie Redmond caught up with Chad Gable before Monday Night Raw. He was doing some ring work with the Creed brothers, and she asks him how he's feeling about his match against Sami Zayn. He said he's excited. He's been waiting for this moment for a long time, and working alongside Sami was great because he got to learn a lot of his weaknesses as well too, so he really knows how to get the upper hand in those moments. I'm really excited because this is actually main eventing. Monday Night Raw this week is taking place in Montreal, so we already know Sami Zayn is going to get a massive crowd reaction. Back to the ring where we have the match between Andrade and Dom Mysterio. At the beginning of this match, Andrade runs after Dominic and he ends up chopping Dom as well. He hits a really nice lateral press and crossbody. Then we see this moment where they're both trying to hit the three amigos, so they end up hitting two each, and then Andrade ends up getting the upper hand and gets that third amigos on Dom. JD ends up distracting the ref, and then Dominic takes control during that moment. We hit the commercial break, and when we come back, we see Andrade hits the dragon screws, he hits the double knees, and he ends up attacking JD McDonough as well too, and he ends up finishing the match on Dom Mysterio with the message, which is his finisher. I don't really understand the name of it, but hey, like, if it works, it works. Following Andrade's win, we end up seeing JD and Dom Mysterio attacking Andrade, and then Ricochet ends up coming to the aid of Andrade, and Andrade was a little bit confused as to why Ricochet was there. He's like, are you good? Like, can I trust you, kind of thing. They obviously have a little bit of history, so it's interesting to see Ricochet come to the aid of Andrade. I know that he's had a few issues with the Judgment Day, so it was cool to see this moment. We had a Bloodline segment. Now, this was obviously just showing what happened on Friday Night SmackDown last week with Solo almost exiling Jimmy Uso out of the Bloodline and introducing Tama Tonga. Obviously, now this was as a recommendation from the Tribal Chief. It's interesting to see who the Tribal Chief is. I honestly feel like there's a new Bloodline forming, and the old Bloodline is very much going to come back together to go up against the new Bloodline. I just kind of feel like that's where they're going with things so far, and I'm interested to see where it goes. I like the fact that the storytelling is continuing, and I know Triple H did say that Roman Reigns' story has only really just begun, but it kind of feels like we've been dealing with this for a long time. So if it's only just begun, what did we just go through for 4 years? Kathy Kelly finds Jay Uso backstage after this segment, and she asks, like, hey, how do you feel about what's going on? Jay's like, look, I really kind of just really want to focus on my match against Finn Balor tonight. I don't really want to be focusing on the Bloodline whilst this is happening for me. It's a really exciting moment. We head back to the ring where we have another women's tag team match, and this did not get as much time as I was hoping as well. Justice for the ladies in the tag scene at the moment. We had Chelsea Green and Piper Niven taking on Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. You know, Piper and Kaden were starting off this match, and then Piper ends up taking down both Kaden and Katana, but they end up coming back and double teaming Chelsea Green. And then Piper ends up hitting a crossbody on Kaden, whilst Chelsea Green pins. This kind of all happened very quickly. As I say, we don't really get much time with this, but Piper and Chelsea gained the win in this match. Super cool to see. We head backstage where Kathy has found Liv Morgan after what happened, and she's like, look, how do you feel about Rhea Ripley being out? Like, what's going on, kind of thing. And Liv's like, look, I'm kind of confused by the reaction from the crowd. You guys weren't like this when Rhea Ripley took me out for 8 months with my shoulder injury. You know, like, it's an eye for an eye, a shoulder for a shoulder kind of thing. And I will become the next women's world champion. And I was like, cool, I guess. Cody Rhodes makes his way out to the ring to cut a promo, and he starts off by saying that he wants to reflect on WrestleMania, and he wants to reflect on one man who helped make his dreams become possible, one man who said he was going to be his shield throughout, and he did keep his word, and he obviously never failed from that. And it's obviously Seth freaking Rollins. He said, look, you deserve this break at the moment. I'm sure you're sitting at home, so proud of you, happy to see that you're doing well. Thank you for doing what you did. He mentions The Rock, and he says how The Rock did like this 10-week boot camp kind of thing to get himself ready for WrestleMania. And he said, look, Rock doesn't have one more match in him. He's got plenty more. And he said, nothing that you will do to stop us both from bleeding. It's kind of weird how he worded it. And he mentions how Tama Tonga obviously debuted on Friday Night SmackDown last week, and how it was the recommendation of the Tribal Chief, but mentions that there was no Roman around. And he said, I'm kind of confused what's going on there, but I want to bring out Jay Uso because obviously he's my buddy. He brings out Jay Uso, and he said, look, I really want to have you back tonight when it comes to your match against Finn Balor. How do you feel about it? And Jay's like, kind of just want to do this on my own. And he's making a whole lot of yeet jokes. And then Cody is like, well, normally I'm a Friday Night SmackDown kind of guy, obviously with my championship, and made another yeet joke. I'm not really going to repeat it because A, I don't remember it, and B, it was kind of cringe. Jax is backstage, and she cuts a promo about how she does not give a damn about Rhea Ripley. She's asked by either Jackie or Kathy, doesn't matter who, she's still asked about it. And she says that the draft is in 2 weeks' time, and that nobody is taking that title from her, and it's hers, as in the Women's World Championship. Unpopular opinion here, but I really wouldn't mind if Nia Jax became the champion. I know, weird, shocking, right? We head back to the ring where we have the last couple of matches of the evening. So we have the match between Jay Uso and Finn Balor. Now, this probably was match of the night for me, bar the main event. This was actually a really great showing from both Finn and Jay Uso. So Jay Uso's out in the ring, obviously, after that promo segment with Cody Rhodes. Finn Balor's music hits, and he actually attacks Jay Uso from behind before the match even starts. Finn hits a basement drop kick, and he just absolutely just attacks the crap out of Jay Uso. He takes control, and it looks like Jay Uso's not going to get that moment, but he ends up hitting hitting a step-up enziguri and a Samoan drop as well. Then we see Finn Balor hit the sling blade, Jay Uso hits a super kick, he hits a spear and a splash to come away with the win, and then Damian Priest starts to come out. They both stare down at each other, obviously because they're going to have that match at Backlash. Then we see the rest of the Judgment Day start beating down on Jay Uso, and it's kind of how that segment ended. We then ended up finding out before we get to the main event that WWE will be crowning a new Women's World Champion next week on Monday Night Raw. We all know how I feel about this. I spoke about it at the beginning. I'm not going to say any more. I'm probably going to say more next week when it happens, but I'm just a little bit disappointed. I'm not going to lie to you. So we get to the main event. Now this kind of happens from Jay Uso. He walks through the stadium and he ends up walking out of the arena. He runs into Sami Zayn. Now Sami Zayn's been getting some really cool camera shots as of late. So they kind of meet at the front of the arena, and then Sami walks through the crowd in like the actual stadium part, not in the actual specific arena, but like people that are like walking around all the food stations and stuff. So he's getting applause, he's getting hand claps and stuff from them, and then his music hits and he walks through and he gets this really cool camera shot going down the stairs and he walks through the crowd into the ring. Then Chad Gable comes out, and this was a really great match. I really enjoyed this. Chad Gable's on the attack at the beginning. He's hitting some really nice deep arm drags. Then we go to a commercial break, and when we come back, Chad is still going really super hard on Sami. He hits an ankle lock on him multiple times. We see this move from Sami where he ends up springing off the ropes outside of the ring onto Chad. Then we hit another commercial break. When we come back from the commercial break, Chad Gable hits an Olympic slam, and then he ends up hitting a couple of suplexes on Sami. Sami ends up getting his way back into the match by hitting a couple of exploders. Then Chad ends up capitalizing off Sami. I think he injured his knee during this match, and he ends up hitting an ankle lock in the middle of the ring. Then we see Sami get into a second gear, hit the helluva kick, and he comes away with the win. His wife was watching ringside. He goes out to celebrate with her, obviously, that he's, successfully retained the Intercontinental Championship, when suddenly Chad Gable turns on Sami Zayn right in front of his wife, as we knew was going to happen, as he mentioned to Jackie Redmond earlier in the night that he knows Sami Zayn's weaknesses. I knew this was happening, and I'm so excited that we're going to be getting this, because this means that Chad Gable may become the Intercontinental Champion. It was only a matter of time before his jealousy kicked in and he could not see Sami being this amazing Intercontinental Champion, knowing that he's helped put the work in to make this happen, and obviously he's just a bitter individual from not winning the Intercontinental Championship a couple months back. Completely understandable. I completely get it. I'm excited to see where this program goes from here. I know it's going to be banger after banger after banger, as my boy Sheamus would say. I feel like this is a really great feud that you could have for Sami Zayn going into SummerSlam if you want to have like a trilogy of really great matches. Can't wait to see where we go from here. The IC title is on lock, and it looks like it's under control. And that brings us to the end of the Monday Night Raw review for this week. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you go ahead and chuck a like on the video. Go ahead and comment something that you enjoyed about Monday Night Raw this week. While you're there, go ahead and check out the description. You can go down there and see all of the links where you can find Outcasted on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, as well as all of our personal social medias, so you can keep up to date with what we're doing when we're not posting on here. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel as well while you're there. Turn on the bell icon so you do not miss any of our future uploads. That's the best way to ensure that you don't miss any of our reviews and our podcasts. As always, you'll have your regular NXT review coming in from Reese this week, as well as the podcast this week where we're doing a wrestling quiz. Super excited for that. Hopefully I do not fail. Then you've also got your SmackDown review coming in from either G or Ross this week, so make sure you look forward to that, because the bloodline is going. It's going to be a lot going down. I'm so excited to see what happens on SmackDown this week. But I will catch you guys in the podcast. I hope you have a really great rest of your day, evening, whatever time you're watching this. Clearly it's the evening for me, so I'll see you guys in the podcast. Bye guys.